Okie dokie then, my dear friends, welcome back to another Star Wars video. So you're probably a bit confused by the title of this one, but don't worry, it's all gonna make sense in just a moment. This is the weirdest Star Wars crossover I ever expected, and the strangest thing about it is that it's almost certainly a mistake. So what are we talking about? As you know, if you've been following what's going on in pop culture and cinema, DC Studios' Supergirl drops at the end of this month. And in a brand new piece of official artwork, a Star Wars sequel character can be spotted in the background. And it's not just a character that looks like them, it's literally an unused concept from The Last Jedi. Now when I first saw this, I thought it's almost certainly a joke. But after doing some research, going down a few rabbit holes, and doing some good old Star Wars Meg investigative work, I did finally get to the bottom of it. So I'm not gonna leave you hanging, you are gonna get answers. So no more jibber jabber, let's dive in. The latest theatrical promo for Supergirl includes a surprising Star Wars Easter egg. We're talking about a brand new poster which showcases some of the aliens that Kara Zor-El meets in space. And one of them, just behind Supergirl's left shoulder, should look very familiar to fans of episode 8. If you're familiar with the Canto Bight sequence, then you might be aware that this alien is a certain Lexo Suga. Certainly one of the more obscure characters in the Star Wars universe, and did you know he also appears in Andor Season 1? He belongs to a species known as the Dornamethians, and his story is pretty deep. In addition to being a simple Masaur, he was also an assassin. And did you know he adopted a human daughter who was later kidnapped? But like I said, even though this Star Wars alien design is pretty famous at this point, Suga never made it into the final cut of episode 8. But for a deleted scenes character, he's pretty well known, even if you never heard his name. So now the big question is this: how in the world did a Star Wars alien end up in a Supergirl poster? An official, licensed bit of artwork. Well, after doing a bit of digging, I found out that in the movie there is a very similar looking alien. And so how did they get confused and make this mistake? Well, it turns out that ILM worked on both The Last Jedi and Supergirl. So it's very possible they got their visual references mixed up, especially if the alien in Supergirl was inspired by the one from Star Wars. It's very common for artists to gather visual references for crowd and background aliens. And it just so happens that in this case, Suga found his way to that pile, probably by accident. But you just have to have a sense of humor with these things. It's a pretty darn hilarious mistake. There is also a real possibility that the reference images came from an AI tool. The AI might have pulled up the Canto Bight design without anyone noticing. A third option I've seen being mentioned is it was simply a handoff error, where someone meant to send a brand new alien design, but ended up forwarding the original Star Wars creature by mistake. But some fans are adamant this Easter egg was deliberate. I'm not too sure if there was any collaboration with Lucasfilm. There was some involvement by ILM, Skywalker Sound, but I don't know if they literally signed off on a Star Wars creature from an obscure, deleted scene. But even in regards to Star Wars and DC, if this creative choice wasn't a mistake, there is actually a bit of historical precedent for it. Many years ago, DC and Star Wars were meant to collaborate. There were plans for crossover comics, where Superman would face off against Darth Vader. Could you imagine? Writer Kurt Busiek revealed that he and Alex Ross had once developed a DC Star Wars pitch, something which 80s and 90s nerds would have loved, but the project fell apart due to corporate disagreements. If you think about the way kids played with their action figures, it didn't always have to make sense. Batman versus Luke Skywalker, Superman versus Vader, so many possibilities. But we're talking about a real-life, genuine crossover event. But returning to our original point, this is 100% the character from The Last Jedi.